And welcome back, everyone. And so, Paul, before the break, we just were talking about Hayek's perspective about dispersed knowledge, and you brought up this excellent essay as a reference point. I want to emphasize again that all our listeners should look up I-Pencil and read that. It's a short essay, and they can pick it up on a PDF if they just Google that, I-Pencil. And I want to go to another topic here. This is a good way for us to get into the discussion of real capitalism and real capitalism's worldview and a socialist's point of view or worldview. Does the socialist assume too much when he thinks that public officials have the knowledge and skill to run an economy?
Well, it's much more than that. Not only do they assume and presume too much about the technical knowledge, but think about what they're assuming about the moral character. They're assuming that these people that would presume to control us would do so for our best interests, that they not only know better than us, than we do ourselves about what's good for us, but they're interested in, their only interest is in our well-being. And, you look through human history and you don't see too many rulers like that. You see, that for every Solomon, there's 1,000 Hitlers, aren't there? It's just not human nature. The human nature that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So Lord Acton had it right. And people that want to control shouldn't.
I think Ludwig von Mises actually makes this point very forcefully in his book called Economic Calculation in the Socialist Commonwealth. And well, I guess he doesn't hammer down the aspect about them being more moral necessarily, but he does say that the socialist worldview kind of operates under this delusion that there is such a thing as central planning, and that people really can coordinate these kinds of things.
Yes, it's the idea that this price mechanism can be controlled when price is a discovery process based on producers' costs and really their sense of their opportunity cost, and consumers' values, which are very fickle, as we know, because we're human beings and they change all the time. And how could somebody then say, at what price does consumer value equal producer cost, and therefore giving us the correct allocation of scarce resources? What authority could possibly come up with that price? But yet it happens in the marketplace spontaneously all the time. It's simply phenomenal. It's phenomenal how impossible it is to functionally control this and make it work in any kind of meaningful way. As Mises said, you can't calculate it. How do you know that a gallon of milk ought to be priced at approximately a gallon of gasoline? Well, it just so happens that that's the current trade-off ratio between them, but how do you know that that's the right one? What is the right one? Well, there is no right price. The right price is the market price. These are relative prices of this compared to that. And there's no way for anybody to control that properly.
Now, you mentioned Hayek's fatal conceit. Chris, you dug up a quote from that. You want to give that quote?
I did. In the fatal conceit, Hayek writes, "The curious task of economics is to demonstrate to men how little they really know about what they imagine they can design."
I think that's a great.
They imagine they can design. Isn't that a great phrase? What a great turn of phrase. Because it's nothing but pure imagination. It is fantasy that these people think that they can design this thing. It's quite amazing.
Well, I think this point really reiterates the importance of being grounded in reality economics, which is what we here at Radio Free Market like to refer to as Austrian economics. We like to refer to it as reality economics because reality is not optional, and what we're really talking about is how the world really works. And speaking as an economist, in what ways does the economic reality, the economic way of thinking, impact your view of the world? How does the reality-grounded economist like yourself, Paul, see things differently than, say, his socialist or interventionist colleagues?
Gosh, there's actually two ways, and I don't know if I have time for both, but the quick answer to that is we understand the reality of scarce resources versus virtually unlimited human wants and needs. That is the fundamental economic problem, is it not? If resources were not scarce, we could have everything we wanted, as much of it whenever we wanted it. But we can't. We have to face trade-offs. We have to look at the opportunity cost. If we're going to choose A, we have to give up B. And that's the fundamental economic way of thinking, is involved in opportunity costs and trade-offs based on the notion of scarcity. Therefore, we have to optimize, we have to economize on our resource base and get the most out of it that we can. So we think about how we can do that. And most of us that have studied that problem, the problem that's vexed mankind ever since we've been around, the solution to that has been shown time and time and time again, to simply allow people, set them at liberty to pursue their enlightened self-interest, not their selfish self-interest, but their enlightened self-interest. And there has to be a moral code under which this occurs. Without the moral code, you see what happens with our highest levels of our businesses and highest levels of our other institutions as well. The moral code is very important to people understand. That basic idea that we're at liberty when we set other people at liberty. It really is fundamentally a Judeo-Christian moral code, although it's found in other cultures as well.